folks, we made it. March Madness is about 48 hours away, at least the big tournament. Technically, it has already started as a few 16 seeds are going at it right now. But with me to get you ready is my friend and co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
Wow, wow, wow. Tell you what, if I don't put the towel down, my dancing shoes are going to be so shiny, they'll have to, you have to wear sunglasses to talk to me. But here we are. Can't believe it that, the Maui Classic and all that was so far in the rearview mirror. And here we are standing again on the apron of March Madness. Can't wait. As you said, two 16s are playing right now. Turn for that playing game. San Diego State's going to be playing in a couple of hours. Wow, and then we have 2 more games tomorrow, and then we wake up on Thursday morning, and it'll be like Christmas.
Amen. Yes, I cannot wait for Thursday. I got a couple PTO days lined up to nothing better than getting paid to watch basketball. So it's going to be a fantastic day. Obviously, in order to get to that day, we had to get through Selection Sunday. Before we get to Selection Sunday, um, obviously the main question, or not, I shouldn't say before we get to Selection Sunday. We're already here. We're past it. But, I put in the notes, what kind of surprised you here or there. But it really, at the end of the day, I was even going through kind of our text exchange on Sunday. The main story of Selection Sunday was North Carolina and Bubba Howard, who, unfortunately we've seen a few times where after the selection committee comes out, we learn that, hey, this athletic director is on the committee, and we kind of go, that's interesting. But this situation seemed very obvious. North Carolina, a team that very few people had in their brackets, gets in. Bubba Howard is a chair on the selection committee. He also got $100,000 bonus for making the tournament. That isn't incredible. Like most athletic directors have that in their contract. But obviously, seems like, hey, you could put your thumb on the scale. That doesn't seem right. So I think that's a good place to start. Because again, like we'll get to the other part of the selection Sunday, but the North Carolina situation, that's what everyone's talking about. Raider Jim, your thoughts?
Oh, hopefully there is somebody somewhere that's already writing the script for the ESPN 30 for 30 that we'll probably see in 5 or 6 years, and they'll have people's faces blacked out and take their voices and slow them down a lot so they all sound like their heads are in a trash can. This is terrible, and as you said, it's not the first time, and I always love it when they say, "Well, no, he's on the committee, but he wasn't in the room when we made that decision." Didn't have to be in the room. He just had to leave. He needed to leave the $100 business card under everybody's tablet, and, "Okay, guys, I'm gonna step out now. By the way, there's one for each of you." This is just I'm sorry. I hate to be that cynical and that accusatory, but I don't see how it plays out any other way.
I agree. And before we hit record, I said you don't even need a tinfoil hat to see the conspiracy here, and I even mentioned that to believe that everything was done with the best intentions and no other extracurriculars. I think that's the conspiracy because it's so optically bad. Again, even if everything was done by, correctly and everything, it still looks terrible. And I kind of compare it to almost like now I've never worked in a job like this and it probably doesn't happen, but in a certain sense it kind of does. But essentially your boss walks into your office and asks you, hey everyone, I want everyone's opinion on Brandon's work performance. Brandon, I'm going to need you to step out. And then guess what? I step back in, and what's my first question? What'd y'all say? And guess what? No matter what they said, we're going to have to work together going forward. So again, whether I was in the room or not, or whether Bubba Howard was in the room or not, these are colleagues. These are people that he has relationships with. And it is very, very unfortunate. I personally don't believe it was as egregious as it looks. However, it looks so egregious. And if you are West Virginia, you do have to be very, very upset. The one thing I will say, and maybe playing a little devil's advocate here, three quad two losses. I think that's probably the thing that kept them out. However, they had 6 times more quad one wins than North Carolina and Xavier as well. Xavier only had one quad one win as well, but North Carolina is kind of that dartboard right now. Even San Diego State, like I was over here last week, I gave them their eulogy. And here they are coming in the playing game. And no one's really talking about, wow, I can't believe they got in. Everyone's just all focused on North Carolina for very good reason. I will say, now I know I told y'all to put your tinfoil hats away. I'm going to ask y'all to grab them again, put them on, because I do have maybe a little bit of 40 chess. I don't know if the NCAA is this smart, but I think we all know that tournament expansion at the very least is on the horizon. And generally, everyone who isn't collecting a check from more games is against it. I'm wondering if this was kind of a predicate to maybe whetting our appetite for a bigger tournament. Again, because I'm sure West Virginia and Indiana fans would love to see a 70-16 tournament. Again, maybe something that just kind of popped into my head that, I wonder if they're going to kind of, I don't want to say sabotage the next 2 years, but be like, okay, you only won 68. We're going to mess with some stuff. And eventually you're going to come asking for more. So I don't know. Maybe a little too much. The tinfoil was too closely on my head and the blood stopped going, but you never know. But anyways, overall, Raider Jim, any other thoughts on Selection Sunday? We are going to go bracket by bracket, kind of giving our thoughts, but just kind of overall, anyone kind of overseeded, underseeded, or any teams that you think maybe should have gotten in besides Indiana or West Virginia haven't already been talked about.
Well, I was going to say that, yeah, as much as West Virginia has every right to be mad, and I guess the governor of West Virginia is actually calling for an investigation as to, hey, how did you explain it to me again? And it could be he's just going to make, like, as they do when you're interrogating somebody, you ask the same question enough times, the truth will come out because you're going to start dancing over your words if you're the person that has to respond. But along with West Virginia, you just said Indiana. Indiana, if they got penalized because of their quad one record, wow,
Yeah.
they have every right to be irritated because, again, all you got to do is look at the black and white of what UNC did, and it makes no sense. Boise getting left out, which was a minor travesty, but still, for those fans, it's really too bad. Other things, who got overseeded, underseeded? How Kansas and Arizona ended up 7-4 respectively is boggles my mind. How many weeks in a row did we sit there going, boy, well, Tommy Lloyd, his boat, he's got to have that stuff on Flex Seal to put on the bottom of his boat. Hey, if you got a hole in your boat, you better put this on because you're going under quick. And we watched with the underperformance really since the first of the year, the losses and just struggle, dropped all the way down in the rankings. Kansas dropped out of the rankings, and yet there they are. Kansas still gets a 7. Gonzaga gets an 8. Arizona gets a 4. And wow, that's probably two that really stood out to me. Did anybody get overranked besides them? Or overseeded? I don't think so. Of course, you can't argue with the top 4, and I can't even argue with the top 3 or 4 seedings. They were all good. They were, except for, again, Arizona. Arizona is a 4 is beyond me. Maybe UCLA, they were a little too high for me, but hey, it's all going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for me, the biggest one outside of the North Carolina is, I mean, you look at the final AP top 10, or maybe it was the coaches, but whatever, whichever one. Excuse me, 1 through 4, those teams get a 1 seed. 5 through 8, those teams get a 2 seed. The 9 team, they get a 3 seed. Who is ranked number 10? Louisville. They get an 8 seed. That boggles my mind. I tried to find the thought process there. Maybe they're undervaluing the ACC. Okay, that's fine. But hold on. What is the team that we just started the show talking about? The ACC's North Carolina. So they can't, or I don't imagine they undervalued the ACC if they got them in. Now, the one positive for Louisville is, and maybe this is kind of, the NCAA saying, look, you were terribly underseeded, but their first 2 games, or at least their first game and possibly second, is going to be in Lexington, which is, I mean, pretty much a home game. Auburn's got to look around and be like, wait a minute, we're the number 1 overall seed, and the
Yeah.
second game we play is going to be a road game. That's crazy. So I think that little area, the Louisville getting seeded, and then the bone that they were thrown, it's kind of like, and for Creighton as well. Creighton's the 9 seed. They got to look around and be like, first of all, the 9 or the 8 seed you give us is number 10 in the country, and you're also putting us like 15 miles from their campus. What is going on? So that's tough. I will say I think BYU was also underseeded. The fact that they were seated below Arizona and only 1 ahead of Kansas is kind of, I mean, those are 3 teams all in the Big 12. I'm almost positive BYU put up 100 on Kansas, and I think that was a 25, 30-point victory, the largest loss of Bill Self's coaching career, at least at Kansas. That game, BYU VCU, is going to be a very intriguing contrast of styles. VCU wants to turn this into a 5-possession game. BYU wants to turn into a 500 possession game. So keep an eye on that. And the one other game that the first round game that really did jump out to me, if you would have told me at the start of the year, we're going to be looking at a Bill Self, John Calipari round 1 matchup,
Yeah.
that would have been absolutely incredible. Kansas, Arkansas, goodness. And I believe waiting on the other side of that is possibly Rick Pitino. So, I mean, that little quadrant right there. You want to talk about some good coaching. That is a place to look. And my final thought is the SEC. 14 teams. That's incredible. We'll see. We always do see a conference. Obviously, one conference gets the most, and there is also one power conference that just can't seem to get out of the first weekend. There's always whether it's the Big Ten or the old Pac-12, maybe they go 1-9 or something, and it turns into a meme for the next 3 weeks. Who knows? We shall see with the SEC. One final thing, just because I do feel like maybe we took a, you know, 5-10 minutes to kind of bash on the selection committee. Very, very difficult job to do, to have to go through, especially when you do have a conference where you're getting 14 teams and you're not allowed to put any teams against each other in that first round. A lot of juggling. I think they got some things wrong, no doubt about it. But I think overall this is like if I was grading this, I'd give it like a 93. Like, it's still an A. There's some things that we need to work on. But I have no problem with it. At the end of the day, I don't think West Virginia, I don't think Indiana, and I don't think Boise were going to win a national championship. So a lot of times when we do hum and haw about certain teams not making the tournaments, most of the time it's just for one or 2 games sake. But for the universities, we are talking about the difference in millions of dollars. So I could understand them kind of putting their hand up, going, wait a minute. Although I will say, uh, not a massive fan of the lawsuits in sports. Ever since I saw, the baseball guys, Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro going in front of Congress. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Come on now. Let's get back to, like, we'll focus on our little, sports over here. You guys, deal with, important stuff. But we'll see how it goes.